Morning. Um, so I wanted to jump on and do a VR to Imogen at Sapling Tarot's kind of tag. I mean, I think they just did a video, and people have like jumped on to do video responses, and I've really enjoyed watching them. Around, I think it's called on having a tarot collection, and I really enjoyed the like prompts that they pulled. Apparently got them from beauty YouTube, and kind of adapted them to the like tarot and oracle sphere. So if I'm looking down, it's because I've got the prompts on my computer screen below. Not got very much time to record this, so I'll try and like whiz through the questions, but I just felt like coming on and saying hi and having a bit of a chat about having a tarot collection, which is like my favourite hobby. So how long have you been collecting decks? I've only been collecting decks for 3 years, so I had quite a significant shift in my life about 3 or 4 years ago, and I discovered tarot and went deep fast. So, well, for the first 6 months or so, I think I had probably only one deck. I think I bought a couple of decks, didn't get on with them, and then found one that I really liked, which was the Dreamy Moons Tarot by Annie Tarasova, which I actually don't have out right now. It's like away in a drawer because I don't really read with it anymore. But it was a great deck to learn on. And then after like the 6 months or a year, I ventured into trying a lot of different decks. And I have... So the next question is, what kind of collection do you have? And I had like a big explosion where I bought a lot of decks, and I tried a lot of different styles of tarot and oracle. There was definitely a little bit of like addictive consumption in there, which I still struggle with, but it was also really helpful for me because I was really just like getting to grips with understanding the type of tarot reader that I am and the kind of decks that work for me, the kind that like I really want to work for me but don't. And now I've slowed down a lot in my consumption, and I'm very, very, very particular about what I will bring in and what I won't bring in. But it's taken me some time to get there. Like, I think I kind of had to go through the big explosion of buying a bunch of decks. I think I've said on my channel before, I probably in total had more than 100 decks. I've not actually ever counted, but I'm quite confident of that. Maybe closer to like 150 decks pass through my hands. And the vast majority of them I have moved on because... yeah, I don't like having like a big stack of decks that I'm not using sitting in my house. So in answer to what kind of collection I have a very curated collection. So I spend a lot of like time and effort in making sure that like each deck in my collection serves a purpose. And I will do a deck collection video at some point where I talk through each deck that I have. But yeah, I've probably got between 20 and 30 working decks. Again, I haven't counted in a little while, and I've had a couple of new ones come in. And I really find I can't really work with much more than that. Like, if I get in a deck and I'm really working with it a lot, it often bumps another one off. Like, I find it very difficult to... like, mentally, it feels like mental clog having tons of decks just sitting there. And I feel I never get a chance to actually deepen my relationship with the imagery and the artwork, deepen my relationship with the deck. It just starts to feel more like a kind of light, buzzy consumption activity. Like, oh, I'm getting a new deck in. And I have that kind of, that new relationship energy when you like start dating somebody and you're like excited and buzzy. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something deep in there for the long term. So I've tried to really give myself a chance to work with the decks that I love and to develop more meaningful relationships with them. My collection is also indie, almost entirely. I have, excuse me, I have a handful, like very, very small number of, I'm looking to the right because that's where my altar is. I might try and insert an image if I can muster the effort to edit, or I might just upload this. But anyway, I have a little altar on the floor with a nice, like, some cushions and stuff that I sit on. And over there I have one mass market, which is just the Centennial Rider-Waite-Smith, and then I think I have a couple of others in my drawer, like the Goddess of Love Tarot, and I've got Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle, and I think there might be one other, but I don't remember it right now. But everything else is indie, and that's happened, like, it's more or less been since the beginning of my collecting that I've gravitated towards independently produced decks. But I saw a lot of, like, very popular mass market decks that I tried out, and honestly, like, I know it works for a lot of people, but I just feel so much closer to the artwork and the energy of the artists themselves through independently produced decks. Like, some mass market decks are on really nice cardstock, and they have a kind of, people talk about, like, some mass markets that have, like, an indie feel. But I feel, like, distant from the intention and the energy of the creator, whereas with the independently produced decks, like, I can feel that, like, the hands and the, you know, of the creator themselves have, like, gone into wrapping the deck, and often there's all these, like, sweet little, like, additional small things, like a handwritten thank you note, or even when that's not the case, like, it just to me, they're like, I feel like the distance between me and the art being created with the intention and the energy of the creator is just, like, much closer. And that's what I really feel when I'm pulling cards, is I kind of, I don't know, I have a very strong psychological response to the cards, and it feels that a lot of mass market decks just feel very flat to me. Almost all mass market decks feel very flat, and it becomes much more a kind of cognitive process of reading cards, where I'm like, and what does this card mean, or what do I get from the imagery on the card, and I remain very mental. Whereas I feel like with indie decks, usually I'm much more able to drop into, like, my heart center or my gut. The main categories that I've got, and I've just got a few decks here because I figured I'll show you some cards rather than just chatting. I have a lot of nature-based decks, but not decks that just, like, have pictures of animals or pictures of nature on them. There must be, like, hundreds out there like that, and the vast majority of them don't feel like nature to me. They don't have the quality of nature, of Mother Earth. So I'm very particular about the nature decks that I pull in to my collection. This is one of them. It's the Wild Chorus Oracle by Abacus Corvus. It's by two siblings, Joe and Corinna. They made the artwork together, and to me, this really feels like the voice of nature, and it is one of my absolute favourite oracle decks. One of my favourite decks. It is just so potent and quiet and powerful and holding, and the guidebook is incredible. It's, I say a lot of the same things on my videos, but it's, I think, outside something chunkier like the Weaver's Oracle Guidebook or the Wild Enchantments Oracle Guidebook, which are, like, kind of pieces of work in their own right. Beside that, I think this is probably my favourite guidebook of all time. The messages are just so potent, so deep, so wise, so spiritual, so socially like social justice oriented. It's clear that this deck was created from a place of real, like, love and reverence for the earth, and I adore it. So that's one of the kind of main categories of decks in my collection. The other, it's like a couple of other, probably the largest one is like psychological decks, like kind of ones that are explicitly overtly psychological in nature. So first one that comes to mind, and also kind of shadow worky. I have quite a lot of dark decks. So we've got the Wisdom of the Shadow, Oracle, which to me like really speaks the language of my psyche. Other decks that I've got in this category, I'm just going to show you these cards because I don't know, I feel like I don't know if this also speaks the language of your psyche, but the way that the imagery is drawn with the use of like color and body in particular, there's a lot of bodies in the deck. Like quite confronting imagery, but really speaks to like the way that I experience anxiety and anger, and feels like a very validating deck because it's like a mirror to my that boundaries card is. When I saw this card, I thought, what the fuck? How have you like entered my psyche and understood exactly the like feeling of rage and this like kind of concentric waves of energy that I want to just throw out when I want to draw boundaries. It's I was really, that was one of the cards in the deck that shocked me and was one of the reasons I bought the deck in the first place. So this is very much like exemplifies this kind of psychological shadowy decks. I also have a lot of other decks that kind of represent different parts of my psyche, which are not all shadowy, but I think the collection the sort of part of my collection I'm thinking of are often the decks that I use to communicate with my subconscious. So things like Outgrow Yourself Oracle by here in my lovely Kelly Bear pouch, by Actor Sparman. Also, my most recent edition in this category is The Tower of Individuation, which I discovered on Tarot Maps channel. This speaks the language of my dreams, unquestionably. It's an incredible deck that I have not seen talked about much. Another really great guidebook, very short, but connects to, like, you can see you've got the Trojan horse myth alluded to there. It just looks like my dreamscapes, so that also sits in this category. So that's probably the largest part of my collection, which is not surprising given that I'm training to become a therapist, so makes sense that I would have a lot of decks that are kind of in the realm of psychology and shadow work, a lot of like Jungian stuff in there. So that's the other section, other like biggest category in my collection. And I think also go back to the nature-based decks, I think that's really reflected in the decks that I've got in the shop. Like you can see I've got the Earth and Mother Magic Tarot there. I've got the Future Ancestor Tarot, the Magical Nature Tarot. There's just a lot of, obviously Margie's, both of her decks, My Friend Fire and also the Gentle Tarot. So I have definitely got a leaning towards nature-based decks. And then other categories are decks that feel very like empowering and body-based, like the Story Medicine Tarot, all of them. I've got all 4 of Jessica's decks. This one remains my favourite, the Animal Woman. Very, very embodied, earthy, empowering deck. And then more kind of heart-centered decks like the Playful Heart Tarot, and I also find the Future Ancestor Tarot as well to be in that category, like very much when I need a deck that will speak softly and lovingly towards me. If I'm feeling kind of more delicate, those are the decks that I tend to gravitate towards. So yeah, got like the nature-based, the psychological ones, the ones that feel really empowering. And actually, I would almost put the word ancestral in that group. So also include like the Weaver's Oracle. So where I feel like I'm pulling on wisdom that is like beyond my own. The Animal Woman and the Weaver's Oracle, they will sit very much in that category. And then like the kind of heart-centered decks. So that was a very long answer to the second prompt, which is what collection do you have? But I think that's the most I've got to say of all the prompts. Am I a completionist? Was the third prompt. No, with the exception of the Story Medicine Tarot decks. Oh, okay. Sorry, I just got a message from my partner. We're organising who's going where. And in fact, I'm going to just check if they were, because I'm going to a meeting at 12:30, but yeah, no, that's fine. Okay. So, am I a completionist? No, except for with the Story Medicine Tarot decks, because everything that Jessica does, I find so powerful and full of so much wisdom and deep, deep knowledge, and I just want to like soak it up. So this was the first deck that I got of hers, which was the Animal Woman deck, and then I quite a lot later, maybe a year later, I bought the first edition, which is really like a first in the series. They call them editions. She calls them editions, but the first one was just Story Medicine Tarot First Edition, which I love. And then I very recently bought in Baba Yaga's Soup, which is the third one, and Seaweed Sisters, which is the fourth one. And I'm taking my time. I wanted to get them because Jessica seems to have sort of disappeared off the internet, which fair enough. But I guess I was a little bit like, oh, if those decks disappear and I am never able to get them, like even if I don't work with them right now, they're definitely things that I want to learn from. And I've started reading the stories of the Baba Yaga's Soup deck, and it is really, really, really potent. So I'm very, very happy that I have them, and I'm just going to give myself time to work through them. How do I store and organize my collection? I have like a few different places. I mean, this is the shop, which is just a big old bookcase full of the decks that I've got for the shop. I have my altar with my, probably 10 most used decks, which you've seen a lot of just now. And they sit like on top of the altar. I've got like a little kind of mini storage thing that they sit in. Then I have some that sit underneath the altar, which are kind of second tier that I use, but they are like I use them less frequently. I have them for more specific purposes, like Reclaim Oracle, which I adore, but I don't use as like a kind of day-to-day reader. It's really if I'm feeling like, like I'm very kind of stuck or confused around a feeling that I've got, and I will use that deck to explore what's sitting behind those feelings. Also some of the more practical ones like Spread Machine Oracle, which is like, again, it's not something that I would consider like, oh, it's a favorite deck that I get a kind of emotional hit from, but it's more of like a practical tool that I use. Then I have a couple of very small drawers which have either sentimental decks that I don't want to get rid of because they've been important for me for some reason, like the very first deck that I bought, and a few others that for various reasons I don't read with anymore, but I don't want to get rid of. It's probably 5, 6, 7 decks in that category. Then there's ones that I'm like waiting to pass on, and there's probably about 10 of those that I'm looking to pass on. I'm just really busy and have not managed to put them up on the website or eBay, and yeah, I guess also a couple of them I'm still just giving it a little bit of time to percolate. Like, there were a couple of decks that I bought very few decks for the first half of the year last year, and then I bought in quite a few, maybe 5 or something, in the last couple of months. And I think a couple of them were not as well thought through. Like, I bought them because I thought maybe they were going to go out of print, and actually, well, because they were going out of print. And I should have just trusted my gut that was not the kind of deck that I was going to work with. But alas, we live and learn. Making mistakes over here, moving on. You know, I do my best not to engage in excessive consumption. And that's like really an ethos that comes through in my shop, is that I want people to take time and to, you know, like really consider what they're purchasing. And also, you know, I'm working with people who produce decks really sustainably mostly. And yeah, it's very important for me that I'm not just buying lots and lots and lots of stuff. And I get caught up in it sometimes too. And it can be also really hard. Like, I feel like kind of beat myself up about it sometimes, that I'm like, oh, damn, I bought another deck that I'm just really not connecting with. I didn't need it. Why did I do that? But the reality is also that it's very hard to know until you get a deck in your hands how it's going to work for you and whether it's going to work for you or not. So I feel like as long as I'm passing them on, if they're not working for me, then, you know, just like have some compassion and also know this, like, it's part and parcel of the job that I have as well, is like trying different decks and seeing like what I want to bring into the shop. So that is on storage. What's my favourite thing about my collection? I think really it's just that it's something that is just for me, and that it's not like this is something I like stumbled upon completely by accident, tarot, I mean. And it's become like a huge part of my life, my daily practice. Like, I do read, my partner and I sit down on the mat together sometimes and read, but like, largely this is just something that I do because it brings me joy and fulfillment, and it's a space that I cultivate each morning. You know, I take half an hour to an hour every morning to sit on my mat and draw cards and journal, and that time is really, really precious and not something that I ever had before. So I think that's the thing that I love the most about it. I also love just playing. Like, the cards are so beautiful, the artwork is so incredible. Like, after all, that's why you bring these things in. You know, there's so much like wisdom dripping from these cards, and I feel really, really grateful and really lucky that I have a chance to like explore the world of another artist. I'm not an artist, but of an artist. And I love the fact that like my little curated collection is really a reflection of me and my internal landscape. And I love it. It feels like this little corner of the world that is private. And even though obviously I share about the decks that I have online, the actual act of reading is really personal, and can be playful and can be serious, and it's just joyful to get that space to tend to myself. Biggest category in my collection, already talked about that, probably quite evenly split between nature and psychological decks. The smallest category in my collection is probably like Marseille or Thoth-based decks. Even though like I did quite a lot of study of Marseille when I did the Mindful Tarot certificate program with Esther, but I find it quite cognitive. I enjoy it reading with Marseille sometimes, but it keeps me kind of in more of a mental headspace. There's not, like, the imagery doesn't evoke emotions in the same way as more image-based decks do. So like I have a couple of Marseille decks. Like I bought quite a few at one point, and then I was like, I'm just not reading with these. So I love the Game Marseille. I love Triomphe de la Luna. Again, both not really like fully traditional Marseille decks. And then I have one beautiful kind of collector's piece Marseille deck that is quite a traditional one, but even that is quite more colourful than a usual Marseille deck. So yeah, and more or less that's it. So I think that's probably my smallest category. Do I have a holy grail in my collection? Not quite sure what that is. I'm guessing that means like a kind of special deck that was difficult to get my hands on, that yeah, I guess that's what that means. Like maybe what people call unicorn decks, or anyway, I've chosen the Avatara. Oh, whack myself in the head. The Avatara Tarot by Gabby Angus West, because it was out of print when I was looking for it, and I was super lucky to find a really nice person on eBay who was, yeah, I don't know, I just had a really nice experience with them, and now I have a copy, and it's a Thoth base deck. Are you going to focus? Also seem to have a little, okay, maybe that's better. There we go. Yeah, it's like really unique. I would never get rid of it because it plays a really specific role in my collection. And I adore it. She's punchy, she's sassy, she's really like does not hold back. Very, very confronting sometimes. Really feels like Gabby has absolutely captured what I imagine was the essence of Frida Kahlo. It's a lot of grief in the deck, a lot of power, creativity, but most of all, like this deck really feels a bit like melodramatic, and like she's not afraid to kick my ass when I need it. So yeah, that's my holy grail and very special deck in my collection. I spent a long time trying to find an appropriate bag for that like captured what felt to me like the energy of the deck, and in the end I found this lovely wrap, which, yeah, I don't know, bit dark, bit dramatic, love it. And she seems very happy in there. Do I ever wish my collection was bigger, smaller, or is it complete? As I said, I have a very curated collection, and so for me this is like an ever evolving experience. And in fact, my partner laughs at me often because I go through this like yo-yo experience of being like, oh, I'm really excited by these new decks, and I tend to find decks in clusters. Like there won't be one that I like for ages, and then I'll find like 3 or 4 that I'm really interested in, and I'll start buying decks again. And then I'll be like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I've got way too many decks, like I can't use them all, oh god, what am I doing? I need to stop buying decks, I need fewer decks, I'm going to sell them, I want to get rid of everything apart from my 5 favourite decks. Like I really go through this process. Probably like every 3 months I will declare that I'm like getting rid of all but 5 decks or something like that. Or like, oh well, this is my favorite ever deck, so this is all I need, and what am I doing? It means that I've not got a deep relationship with the decks that I do have because I'm busy buying new ones. And then I stop buying for a while, and then I feel like this is a deck that I quite like, maybe I could just bring in one deck, and then I start buying again. So there's this kind of like yo-yo up and down, and it's both a pain in the ass and also a part of the process that I really enjoy. Like I really like cultivating and curating the collection so it feels right for me. How often do I declutter my collection? Often. It's a very regular process, kind of like ongoing. If I feel I'm not picking up a deck, I will put it in the desk in the drawer to be got rid of. Yeah, I don't like having decks around that I'm not using. Just feels like, mostly it feels like mental clutter, but it also feels like a waste of a deck that could be sitting with somebody else would enjoy it. Do I ever get envious seeing other people's collections? No, because I feel like mine is a reflection of me, and I feel like I see a lot of people with very big collections and like amazing, like they've got a whole library, and obviously I'm not counting these decks because I have like, several hundred decks for the shop sitting on my shelves, but outside of those, I feel really like happy to have a small collection. I think it's beautiful and amazing that people have this like enormous library. And I like the word library rather than collection, actually. And I love that. And I couldn't do it myself. Who on YouTube has the best collection videos? Garden Goddess Tarot has just done a full series of their whole deck collection, some 300 and something, and I nom 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 watched every hour of that. It was like 12 hours or something of collection videos, and they are just so great, and Thea is wonderful and brilliant at, I don't know, I really appreciate the way that she describes and talks about her decks. I find it really interesting, and I am very curious about all the decks that she has, and yeah, loved that. So go over and watch that if you've got, like, put it on in the background whilst you're, you know, making dinner and whatnot. That's what I do. And then the last prompt, I have 2 minutes left until I have a meeting that I have to go to. What's some advice you'd give to a future new deck collector? Do it like you. I mean, I guess trying not to get caught up in the kinds of collections and the ways of buying and using decks that other people use. There is so much time that I've spent being like, oh wow, this person uses tarot in this way, and like feeling that maybe my way of using tarot isn't quite right, or they are really creative, oh they've got these amazing journals with like stickers and they're beautiful, and like doesn't work for me, you know. Or there's decks that are really popular and I see them on everybody's channel and I think like, well, there must really be something in it, and okay, yeah, I could see that could be really valuable, and then I buy it and I'm like, I just don't want to use this deck. I'm thinking particularly of things like Tarot of the She. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And even Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle, which I'm still holding on to because the guidebook is amazing, but the artwork doesn't really work for me. So that's one that I'm currently clinging to. I think I may need to get rid of it at some point. So yeah, so following other people's ways of doing tarot, collecting tarot, reading tarot, journaling about tarot, the aesthetic of their channel, chuck it all out the window. Find something that, like, take inspiration and play with different ways of doing things, for sure. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to get it, find the version of this that is you straight out the gate. It's something that will take exploration and trying and tasting different ways of doing things. But don't be afraid to say, that's not for me. So that was it. Really enjoyed recording this. It's 12:30 on the dot. I have to go. But yeah, it's been so nice chatting, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.